Hey everyone, this is Jennifer Beamer, owner-operator of Expertly Dyed Art by Science, and this is yet another continuation of the Yuna Shrug project. Now, I divided the skeining part into two videos, and the reason why is because not all spinners will have a niddy-noddy, which is what this is. Right, you just rotate this 90 degrees, and then you can make a skein of yarn with this. But not everyone has such a device. So let's say you have a drop spindle, or maybe you just got your wheel and you don't have all of the tools yet. You can still make a skein of yarn if you have a chair, which is what I have here. This is a swivel chair. Alright, now this is the skein of yarn that we're going to make. So I've got the end here. Now I'm just going to put it on my the Lazy Kate for my Kromsky Minstrel. But if you don't have one, you can either have someone help you, or maybe you can rig something up in your house, or if you have a drop spindle, you can just use the drop spindle and wrap it around with a spindle in hand. I'll show that in another video, but I don't have, it's not going to be for this tutorial series, it's going to be a future one. So we're going to start with the end here. Now it's important that the chair has sides that go more or less straight up. If it curves out or something at the top, make sure that when you make the skein of yarn, you do it at the top. You want to do it at the widest point so that you can take the skein off. Otherwise, if you don't, then your yarn is going to be stuck on it. So I'm going to start off by holding this here with my finger, and I wrapped it around the front, and I'm going to sort of overlap the yarn so that when I let go, the first piece that we've used to make the first wrap that we've used, this part can just hang down on its own. Okay, I still like to keep my finger here just in case, but I will wrap it a couple of times very slowly just to make sure that it's secured. Okay, like that. Now comes the easy part. If you can wrap over the top quickly, then making a skein of yarn this way is actually really easy. A little bit faster and less intensive on the shoulders, I think, than using a niddy-noddy, because you can keep the shoulders relatively low. So what I do is I'm grabbing the yarn like this, and I'm pulling it with my hand. Okay? That way I'm not constantly doing this motion. I'm meeting one hand to the next and pulling like this. Now as I'm wrapping, I'm trying to sort of make a line going down with the yarn so that it's one layer deep. The first couple I kind of excuse because I want to wrap over that starting point so it doesn't get lost or so it doesn't fall down. But aside from that, you just want to keep wrapping so that these first maybe half dozen to a dozen or so wraps are all smooth. They're all the same height. And then after that, you can start wrapping over and over. Make it 2 tall or 3 tall with the wraps. Now, I have a really convenient setup, and I know that not everybody will, but it's easy to do if you have a nail. You can fit it into your bobbin, get a really long nail, stick it through a piece of wood, and stabilize it, and then you can just put the bobbin, already has a hole in it, you can just put that on the nail, and voila, you have sort of like your own Lazy Kate. If you have a willing husband or boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or best friend or a really, really well-trained dog, they can help you do this a little bit better, because it won't, I don't tension my lazy Kate during the skein process. So every time I pull, and I always pull more than I need to get around, it'll cause some slack in the, like the yarn. You can kind of see maybe it's slack. And if you're making a high twist single for a project, for example, and you're doing this process, the slack can actually cause the yarn to kink up on itself. And if you accidentally pull, or it unwinds on its own a little bit too much, you can actually have a big mess on your hands. So if you have a tensioned lazy Kate, great. If you don't, and you don't have any friends nearby, or siblings or spouses or boyfriends or girlfriends, then just do it slowly. I've done it enough slowly to know that it's possible. It is a little bit more laborious, but you know, if you have a situation, ooh, I got stuck. If you have a situation like that, where you have a twisty single and you're going to make a skein of yarn this way, I would highly suggest having someone nearby to help you with it. Okay? So we're just going to keep going around and around, and we'll do the figure 8 ties together again. And if you can't really see what it is I'm doing, oops, very closely, it keeps getting stuck somehow. Totally just, it jumped off the lazy Kate just then. So again, if you have a hard time seeing what it is that I'm doing when it comes to the figure 8 ties, I did make an earlier video with a nitty knotty, and I did my best to get an up-close shot of it. So if you can't see in this video, go check out that video. Now when it comes to tension, when I'm putting this on, I'm trying to keep the tension the whole time. I don't want to let it loosen, because if I let it loosen, then when I take it off and I start to wash it, part of the skein will start to get droopy. Might be 1 or 2 pieces, it might be several, and you know, when you do the washing and then you set the yarn with a couple of snaps or a couple of thwacks against a towel, it can actually exacerbate that problem. So you go through all this effort to make some hand spun, and you skein it up, and then after you wash it, you have a giant mess. I've done this before. So take my advice, go slow, have the even tension, build it consistently, and you won't have any issues with the yarn being a little bit loose in one spot or a couple spots. So let's see if we can make this a little faster, since you guys have gotten the idea now. If you want to know how many yards you're making, because this is not a standard length, all you're going to want to do is grab a flexible tape measure, something that you can get in a sewing store or whatever. I have a little retractable one. Just measure over the spot that you're going to wrap the yarn. And if it's less than 36 inches, then you can multiply the number of wraps by the number of inches and divide by 36, and that will tell you how many yards you have. So if you watched the earlier video, you'll know that I use a 2-yard niddy-noddy. It's hard to find a niddy-noddy that's larger than that. Some custom producers will make one at different lengths. You can make a custom one with PVC pipe, but you'll notice in the other video, because it's a 2-yard skein, it's actually going to look a little bit skinnier than this version, and it's definitely going to be longer, because I can tell you right now, this is probably around a yard, maybe a little bit over a yard. And of course, when I sat down to make this video, I didn't grab a tape measure. So I'll measure it later and post the information in the description below. But for now, we can eyeball it. It's about a yard or so. But it's important to remember so that when you get to your project and you're counting all the wraps of the skein, you know how, like, what that number means. It's good to have the context for the numbers. So we're pretty much at the end here. All right, we'll get one more wrap. Now, because this is smaller, I'm actually not going to do 4 figure-8 ties. I'm just going to do 2. And if you're wondering, yes, that's enough for a 1-yard skein. If it was a 1.5 yards, I would say you should definitely have at least 3. If you are doing a 4-yard skein, I typically do 4 figure-8 wraps. But if I'm doing something that's like a high twist or something that's really delicate, I will put up to 6 figure-8 wraps. Now, in the other video, I also posted this little end piece that I use to tie the plies together to get started with plying. I actually keep these little bits. So sometimes, if any of you have bought my pottage bats, sometimes you'll see those little bits in the fiber because they make lots of great texture, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, we're using it for the yarn, right? So I just like to keep it around for that. Now, this is how much extra that we have. Don't cut this off. What we're going to do is we're going to unwrap it here and move the chair closer. Now, because this chair is rounded, it doesn't bother me, but getting underneath, getting underneath here is really tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a figure-8 tie here on this end, and I'm going to make another one down here, and that'll be enough. So we have our yarn with the knot at the end, and we're just going to split this in a couple of places. I like to do 4. I feel it's a little bit more secure. Grab this, and we're going to go under, over, under, over. Grab the other end. Okay, oh, it's okay if you let go. And then we're going to go under, over, under, over. Okay, now the reason why we're doing it this way is because you have the yarn already. Before, when I first started doing it this way, I was always hunting around for little scraps of yarn to use for figure-8 ties. and then you'd have all those knots in the way, and sometimes they would come undone, and blah, blah, blah. But also, it's very nice. The presentation is very nice. So by using the same yarn, it blends in really well. And by using the same yarn, you don't have all of those ends sticking out. So if you're going to sell your hand spun, or if you're going to submit it to a competition, then you don't have all of these distractions, and judges in a very close competition will actually take off for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this loop through, okay? Now, don't lose track of this. This is the part that's coming around the back. Right? This is the end that we threaded through. Don't lose it. If you need to, hold both in your hand. Okay. So you see how it gets really close to the yarn here? What we're going to do is we're going to grab the end, stick it down through there. Okay. So the loop that goes all the way to the back is towards the front, and the end that we were using to make the figure 8, it went down underneath, so it's behind this loop. So we're going to finish pulling. We want to give it some slack, so about in a finger and a half, or maybe 2 fingers, because this is a little bit fatter skein than the previous video. And then we're just going to pinch down here and distribute this figure 8. Okay? And because I want it more on the ends, I'm just going to pull this down a little bit, and then we're good. Okay? So then I'm going to come down here and make another figure 8 tie. And bring the chair even closer. Alright. Gonna divide it into the 4 pieces. We're gonna go under, over, under, over, grab it, under, over, under, over. Okay? Now this is the same yarn that's connecting up here, so we don't want to lose it, but we have to pull this tighter. Okay? Hold both if you need to. Okay? Then drop the yarn behind there so that it catches. Right? If you see, I can pull this down and it pulls this yarn like that. Oh, grab the wrong one. Okay, and because I want this down more towards the end, I'm just going to push this down like this. Okay. Okay, and then we've distributed it, and then we're going to go all the way around to the back. And now I'm uncomfortably close with the chair. Okay, and this is the end. It went all the way here, made the figure 8 tie. Then here, made the next figure 8 tie. Then we wrapped it around the back, and it meets up here with the front. So sometimes I think I did a really good job actually wrapping this yarn in here. So what I'm going to do is wrap the 2 ends together in a knot, like so. Right over left, left over right, makes a square knot. Pull it tight, and then we're just going to shimmy it off. There we go. Ah! Told you it would work. So here's our skein, and it's super little. It's really cute. We have our figure 8 ties here and here. It's not quite at the end, but it'll be okay. The skein is small enough where I won't have to worry about the yarn falling apart when I'm washing it. And you can see again that it is pretty relaxed. It's not twisting too much. But we're going to wash it and set it nevertheless, just to make sure. But because it was sitting on the bobbin for long enough, the twist, the plied twist kind of got embedded. So if you remember in the video where we were plying, it was kinking up on itself when I was plying it. But I knew, because I took a sample prior, it was normal. That was how it was supposed to be. I continued plying it even though it looked over twisted, and this being so relaxed kind of reassures me that I did the plying stage correctly. It's always nice when things work out like that, you know? So I'm just going to put this into a teeny little mini hank, like so. And I like to have a couple of these at least to wash at any one time, because I don't want to have to wash one skein one day and then another skein the next day. I like to do it all at once if I can. So this is the one that we made a skein with the chair, and this is the one that we made a skein with the Nitty Nutty in the previous video. So these are going to be washed, and then we'll be back very soon to do the actual project, the Yuna Shrug. So stay tuned. If anything else I missed, it's going to be in the description below, including information for the project itself. If you just popped into this video, make sure you go back and see the previous videos so that you're all caught up with us. And let's get this thing done. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, post any comments or suggestions below. You can also talk with me and others over on Facebook and Twitter, and follow my blog, because I'm also going to post a lot of pictures there regarding this tutorial and future tutorials. So if there's anything you can't quite see, head over there, because I probably have taken photos, and if not, I will soon. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye!